we have the capacity to reimagine a different future for our children. We have that. So, you know, my challenge is not to you, but to your son through you, and me to my sons and the children of the world. Because they at some stage will ask you, hey Dad, were you goofing off here or something? What is your responsibility as the man in power? What is your responsibility as the decision maker, the shaping policy? What do you buy? What do you eat? How do you do it? How do we do this? How do we develop a growing urban technology that is more compassionate in its relationship with animal beings? In Kumawane, there's a female elephant. The elephant is an extraordinary metaphor for us. It's large. I said it's large and it's enormous. It's the largest living thing that is land mass, land born. We have to live with it. The ecologists will tell you, the environmentalists will tell you that this guy here, this woman here supports a massive micro ecology. Once it goes, there's like a domino effect in nature itself. We don't even understand where that ends, but we know that something's going to break where the elephant goes. Guaranteed. We don't know what it is because I don't think we're smart enough to work that out yet. But we are smart enough to know, our consciousness takes us there, that we have to continue living with other living things. We have to save every single tree, every single plant that we can possibly save. And that will make us to rethink the way we build our communities, how we children, how we feed them, how we use the oxygen, how we use the water. All of these things have to be rethought. So we as a species are going to survive. It's as critical as that. So I'm just saying that artists have to step up. This is now part of their brief. Their work needs to bear testimony to part of this particular solution that we're seeking. It's not good enough anymore if they only find the solution or have their conversations in secluded commercial transactional galleries, although that is an important part of their discourse. They must, the contemplative thing of the inner space of the studio and the gallery, it's like a crucible where ideas are put down. Okay, now you've done that, now step out. Take your power back in the public space. Tell people what you found in the contemplative space. So really, the Human Elephant Foundation does nothing more than just find a vehicle for me to have these conversations in public space. So the elephant for me, the elephant series for me, is one way, just one example of how I can register imagination and innovation and creativity. If you really want to see how creativity works, watch the kids. And we're a bit dead, us as a people, you know, the adults. We've kind of jaded a bit. You know, the kids don't have that problem. The kids are alive. They're alive with the promise of tomorrow. Watch them. Watch them in front of creativity. That's what I'm saying to artists. Make art for children. Because when kids see creativity, it's like mainlining for them. They just go straight on, hot-wired. It's the thing that keeps them alive. You can watch them. They become ADD. They sort of hype up in front of art. And then that's why art is such an amazing thing. And I think, you know, as I said, I don't think that there's a limitation of artistic practice. I said I'm wanting a broadening of that practice. I want you to take on the challenge of the public intellectual. I want you to take up the challenge of the creative citizen. I don't think it belongs to the sociologists and the anthropologists. I think it's your space. It's for you to be part of the conversation that shapes the future. So if you're saying that that's the politician's job, well, we know where the politicians are going to take that debate. They're going to take it into a predictable place of decay. It's where the debate is right now. Economists and politicians are taking the debate. It's unchecked. There's no consciousness attached to it. I think artists can bring consciousness, frame the human body again as the most important project that we have to achieve in one lifetime. We have to achieve every decision, every building, every law must have in its mind one human body. What's the impact of that on that person? before we make that road, before we build the building, before we develop the mode of transport? Will this thing live? And then if you get there, then it's only a small leap away to understand that that tree there lives like you live. That animal breathes and has emotion like you. You do not have dominion over it. You have a challenge to live with it. That's the big challenge for us. That's where it's at.
It's all-encompassing. It deals with trees, everything. Animals, people, race.
Everything. It's about tolerance to coexist. This is where we're going, man. We're not going to homogeneity. You know, South Africa is such a cool place because, you know, now we are forged together in multiculturalism, interculturalism. It's complex. So, you know, guys come with archetypal, ancestral references and they throw you, and it collides with contemporary kind of like scientific empiricism. How do those two things live together? That complexity makes the human project more challenging and more real. We have to learn to bridge complexity as part of the human project. We must forget about this idea of homogeneity, of one community sealing itself off in perfection. That's not the future. The future is the complexity of interconnectedness, of how cultures mold and develop new entities, new modalities of knowledge, new ways of worshiping, new ways of living. That's where we're going. That's where we're at.
So this creative process, you really have broken down why choosing the elephant was important. But when it came to your creative process, all the way down to the materials, why found objects, or why, you know, maybe talk to us a little bit about that in terms of your thinking.
First of all, I think as a sculptor, the interesting debate between form and content. I mean, because we deal with physical material, you know, they come with a metaphorical referencing for us. Cloth as opposed to grass, as opposed to steel, as opposed to glass. They all have references because we, as human beings, respond emotionally to those different materials. The one is hard, the one's brittle, the other one's soft, the one's cold, the one's strong. So when we make a piece of art, already the materiality of that art is 90% of the metaphor anyway. So, you know, there has to be a challenge for you to express yourself with a certain kind of sensitivity towards materiality. It's intrinsic to the approach to multimedia image making. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, we don't live in a what's the word, in a sort of virtual world we can take on board. But if we work with virtual technologies, then the material we use for that is intrinsic to the metaphor of the artwork. So we're using a virtuality or a composite furtive image, which is a computer or a television image. We use it as part of the conceptual referencing of the work. So materiality is very important. And, you know, I've just basically put these elements. I put the elephants in the world. I know that they have a carbon footprint. It's traveling around and all that. But we're all at the crude stage of this debate. I'm saying that this material is a massive recycle problem in the world, everywhere. Automotive tires, massive landfill issues around it. And, you know, so I've just made a simple analogy. I've just drawn a comparative. I said it's possible to re-enchant that which we throw away, place it into the mainframe of creativity, to draw attention to what is actually meaning. So, you know, the simple anecdotal message is that I'm drawing attention to environmental abuse. That's all. And of which the elephant embodies, gets dressed up with the very material that abuses the environment, in order that we can draw attention to it, so that it references attention around issues of recyclability, and the materiality, all the material stuff that we're just putting into the universe. So this is an innovative, creative way of reusing a material that would have ended up in the dump site anyway. That's what it's about. Simple.